the verse that we have discussed, that nasti buddhir yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhava yata shanti ashantasya kuto sukham. So Krishna had, Krishna was saying this, that you need to, you need to attain peace. You need to attain peace, and that peace will enable you not only to quench all your desires, as well as the the adversities which follows that, the sorrows, the desires, the sorrows, the challenges which comes, you know so this peace is going to eradicate all the sorrows that you have, not only of yours, but to all the people who are in contact with you. Whoever comes in contact with you, if they have this, if they have this sorrow, they have any kind of mental problems, mental sufferings, that suffering goes. So, prasade sarva dukhanam hyani rasyopajayate prasanna chetase hasu buddhir tistate. And only when your mind is situated in happiness, in joy, only where your mind is situated in joy, then only uh, you become aware about who you are. You elevate into the knowledge of the self. You become established into the knowledge of the self. And then he said that nasti buddhir yuktasya, and now he is talking about, the significance of knowledge in our life. What is the significance of knowledge in our life? He says nasti buddhir yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana. If you don't have knowledge, if you're not connected with knowledge, then what will happen? You cannot meditate, you cannot become still, you cannot calm your mind, you cannot concentrate, neither in your studies or or your meditation. You cannot concentrate on any of your works. So if you cannot concentrate in your works, then none of your works are going to yield satisfactory results. So you will always remain in the state of dissatisfaction. You are always going to be in the state of dissatisfaction. So to relieve yourself from this, from this sorrow, from the state of dissatisfaction, from frustration. So it is very essential that you become connected with knowledge. Nasti buddhir yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana. If you are not connected with knowledge, then you cannot concentrate, you cannot meditate. And if you cannot meditate, nacha bhava yata shanti. If you cannot meditate, if you cannot concentrate, if you cannot put your mind into one specific subject, then what happens? You will never have peace. You will never have peace. And if you do not have peace, then where is happiness? You can accumulate, you can accumulate wealth, you can accumulate medium for for enjoyment. You can have a lot of, you can have a lot of a lot of treasures, prosperity, but this prosperity is not going to yield any result. This prosperity is not going to give you satisfactory results. Why? Because your mind is not calm. Because your mind is not calm, and because your mind is not calm, even though you will have a lot of wealth, even though you will have a lot of treasures, these will never help you to attain happiness. Your happiness will be blocked. Nasti buddhir yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhava yata shanti ashantasya kuto sukham. If you don't have peace, you will never have happiness in life. You cannot enjoy your life. So we all want to enjoy our life, and see what happened to us when we wanted to enjoy life materially. We all had these aspirations of material growth. We all ran after money. We all ran after all kinds of material prosperity. And see what happened? We are all locked down into our houses, and we can do nothing. And this is increasing. This problem is increasing, and there is no way that we can get out of this. We can we can get out of this and then we will fall into bigger problems. So material wealth is not wealth at all. Material accomplishment is not accomplishment at all. You need to be in your house. You need to be in, within your mind. You need to have peace. So this peace is, you can have this peace only when you will have this, you can have this happiness in your life only when you will have peace. So knowledge is so important to us, because with knowledge ultimately you are going to attain peace. So always aspire for knowledge, knowledge of yourself, knowledge of yourself, and this is the only accomplishment that you will have. In the long run you will see that this is the only accomplishment that you will have. Okay, so nastir buddhir yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhava yata shanti ashantasya kuto sukham. Delay. So nacha, then he says, then we're going into the next verse. It's very technical. Just see what he says. Indriyanam charatam yan manonu vidhiyate tadasya harati pragya vayur namam ibham basi. This is the next one. It says Indriyanam hi charatam yan manonu vidhiyate. All our senses, Indriya means senses. All our senses are open to this world. Our eyes is open, our ears are open, our nose is open, our tongue is open, our skin is open. So with these senses we collect the information of this world. So from these five senses, thousands and thousands of information is coming within the mind. Okay, and we are not aware also. We are not aware. I am thinking about something, and that is what I see, but my eyes are closed. But my eyes are open. So when my eyes are open, my eyes is absorbing everything that he sees. Though I am aware about it or not, it doesn't matter. My eyes is always accumulating things. My ears are accumulating. So everything, they are all capturing. They are all capturing, and they are all they are assembling it into the mind. So it says that we have five senses. Indriyanam hi charatam yan manonu vidhiyate. If your mind follows any one of these five senses at one time, if your mind follows any one of these five senses, these senses are so powerful. These senses are so powerful, that the information that they gather, they are so powerful that it can deviate the mind. It can deviate the mind. How? How does it deviate the mind? When there is a boat which is in the river. There's a boat in the river. It's going in its direction, but there's a huge cyclone. There's a huge cyclone, and what happens when there is a huge cyclone? The direction of the boat is deviated. The boat is deviated in a different direction or in the opposite direction. So in the same way, just as the cyclone or these very strong winds, can divert the course of a boat or a ship, at the same way, these senses, any one of these five senses are so strong that they can divert the course of our mind, and sometimes they misguide, so they misdirect our mind into wrong things. So if my mind is connected with all these five senses at one point, at any given point, just think what can happen to the mind. Just think what can happen. And this is how we live our life. We are very fortunate that we don't meet with an accident. We're very fortunate. There is this divine which always guides us. Just you can understand, if your mind is if your mind is connected with any one of the senses, it's so powerful. It's so powerful that the senses can divert the mind the same way as very strong winds can divert the course of a ship or a boat. So our life and its course is always diverted because our mind is always in connection with the senses. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to remove our mind from the senses so that we can get connected with the reality. The reality is the self. The reality is consciousness. The reality is who I am. Whatever my mind is showing me, or whatever my intellect, or whatever my senses are showing me, that is not the truth. But because they are very powerful, that is why, though I see the wrong thing, though I see the false thing, I perceive them to be true and I follow them, I run after them. So we need to stop it. We need to stop the mind to follow the senses. We need to how to stop the mind? To always know that this reality that we see, this apparent reality that we experience, is not reality at all. It's not reality at all. It is an apparent reality. It is what has been perceived by the senses. It's not the reality. And because it's not the reality, it should always be restrained. I have to restrain my mind to get connected with the senses so that it doesn't drag me into this maya. It doesn't drag me into this false entity, false existence. And that is what he says in the next verse. What does he say? He says, Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasha indriyani indriyathebhya tasya pragya pratishtita. And that is why he says, Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasha indriyani indriyathebhya tasya pragya pratishtita. And that is why what? O mighty one, that is why, O mighty one, nigrihitani sarvasha, you need to restrain yourself. You need to restrain yourself from getting involved with the. You need to always, stop your mind to get involved with the senses, to run after the senses, to run after everything that the senses brings to you. You need to restrain it. You need to discipline your mind. If you cannot discipline your mind is going to be attracted by the senses, and in the process, you are going to be misguided. And only one sense organ out of 5 is capable of diverting you, misguiding you. Is capable of misguiding you. And if your mind is connected with all these 5 senses at one point, at one time, just think what is going to happen to you. And this is why our life is not happy. This is why we suffer. What is the reason for our suffering? It is only because we do not train our mind to restrain itself from getting attracted or from getting connected with the senses. Our mind is not trained at all. It's not disciplined. It's not in our control. And that is why he says, Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasha. That is why, O mighty one, it's not about the strength of your arms. It's not about the strength of your arms. It's not about killing the enemy which is outside. It is about killing the enemy within. What is the enemy within? The enemy within is your uncontrollable mind. This is your enemy. You need to restrain it. You need to control it. You need to discipline it. Okay? This is your real enemy. And when you can control your mind into, you can hold the reins of your mind in your hands, then this mind is going to become your friend. Till that time, this will always act as your enemy. This will always act against your interest. You don't know also. You work and you see that you are not satisfied. You do everything in your life, and at the end of your life, you see you are left behind alone, without nothing. And you don't know what is the reason behind this. The reason is only this, that you have believed your mind. And that is why, without seeking the reality, without seeking that which is going to, which is going to help you in the times of adversity, you have run after those which will never have anything to do with when you are in trouble. They will only increase your trouble. And that is why our life is so difficult. To make our life easy, to make our life easy, we need to do this hard work now. We need to do this hard work now. That we need to restrain our mind now. Only when we will restrain our mind now, that is the only way by which we can, we can be successful in our life, because then our life will run in the right path. Then the course of our life will be in the right path. And this life itself is, it's a celebration. It's going to help us. It's going to help us to attain the self. Bhagavad Gita is the proof. Bhagavad Gita says that whatever you do, whatever your responsibilities are, whatever your actions are, these actions are like your sadhana. These actions are like your austerity. Do this as your austerity, and these actions are going to take you, to the highest accomplishment. I work for my whole life. Why do not I attain that accomplishment? The only reason is this, that I am diverted. I am misguided. My course is completely opposite to what it is supposed to be. And that is why, though I have done all the hard work, I have done all the hard work very sincerely, at the time when I need to enjoy my life, I see my life is full of burden, my life is full of sorrow. I'm alone. And that is why he says, Tasmadasya Mahabaho Nigrihitani Sarvasha. You need to learn how to discipline your mind. You need to make your mind, you need to make your mind disciplined. You need to control your mind. You need to teach your mind to behave the way you want it to behave, the way it should be. You should not behave the way the mind wants. You should teach your mind to behave the way you want, to behave the way, it's better for you, it's good for you, not for good for the mind. We always do things which is good for our mind, which the mind likes. I want to do this, I want to do. Where from this want comes? Who is the one who creates this want? This want is not created by me. This want is created by my mind. And because I think that this mind is me, or this is my integral part, this is also a part of my own existence. That is why I believe everything that the mind brings to me, and I follow the mind. But it says that if you do that, you are going to land up into trouble. And that is why everybody of us lands up into grave trouble at a certain point in their life. And when they fall into this trap, then they are not even capable mentally, physically, to get out of that. And they suffer. Though it sounds to be very ridiculous. Why do spiritual people talk about suffering so much? Why do people why do a person who talks about spirituality talks about suffering so much? It is the reality. There is sufferings. You can say that no, there is no sufferings, but this is not, life is not this, this only moment. It will change. There's a future, and everybody has to get old. Everybody has to go to that point where they have done everything in their life, and there's nothing to do more. And not only that, they don't have that capacity to do more. And that is the time they realize how lonely they were all, how misguided they were. They thought this to be true, they thought that to be true, but nothing was true. Everything was just a delusion. We are all betrayed. And Krishna is trying to make us not feel this betrayal. Krishna is trying to make us not feel at one point in our life that we have lost this battle. And to do that, he says, you need to fight at this moment, not with the enemy outside. Your enemy is within you. Your enemy is within you, and that is why you need to control your mind. Tasmadasya Mahabaho Nigrihitani Sarvasha. You need to control not only your mind, your intellect and your ego too, as well as your senses, to run after everything that it observes or it encounters. You need to also restrain your senses, so that whatever it sees, it should not run after them. It should have discipline, it should have restraint. Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasha indriyani indriyathebba tasya pragya pratishtita. Now this is another important thing. We have discussed this before also, and again he's repeating the same thing. He's repeating the same thing. Indriyani indriyathebba tasya pragya pratishtita. Indriyani means my senses, my five senses. This is called indriyani. Indriyartha. Indriyartha means objects of these senses. What is the object of these senses? I have five senses: eyes, nose, tongue, ears, and skin. These are the five senses. And what are the five sense or objects? The five sense objects are this. For eyes, it is form. Eyes can perceive form, and that is why form is the object of eyes. Nose is a sense. Nose can perceive smell. So nose is the object of the smell is the object of nose. So smell is another sense object. My tongue can perceive taste. Like I have, I take, rasgulla. That is, in India it's rasgulla. It's a sweet. It's a sweet. There is jalebi, which is also sweet. Then there is apple, which is sweet. Strawberry, sweet. Everything is sweet, but every sweetness is distinct. The sweetness of rasgulla is different from the sweetness of jalebi. The sweetness of jalebi is different from the sweetness of apple. That is also different from the sweetness of grapes. So they are all sweet, but every sweetness has got its own texture. They are not the same. Who determines this? It is determined by my tongue. So tongue is a sense, and the sense object of the tongue is taste. So now we have three sense objects. One is form, one is smell, and one is taste. Then ears. What does the ear perceive? The ear perceives sound. So ears, the sense object of ears is sound. So we have four sense objects now. One is form, one is smell, one is taste, and one is sound. And the last one is skin. So this skin has its sense object as touch. Whatever touches our skin, we can feel that. When it is summer, why it is summer? Why do you feel hot, warm? Because the warmth of the summer, they come in contact with my skin. My eyes cannot see whether it is hot or cold. It's my skin which tells me it's cold, it's hot. So skin is a sense organ, and the sense object of skin is touch. So these are the five sense objects. One is form, one is smell, one is taste, one is sound, and the other is touch. So indriyani indriyarthebhya tasya pragya pratishtita. A person who can separate his senses from the sense objects. This is what we had discussed before. How will you separate your senses from your sense objects? There's one way to close your eyes, and that is how you are going to separate yourself from all forms. But can you keep your eyes closed all your life? It is impractical. It's not practical. So you need to open your eyes. At the same time, you need to not get attached to things that the eyes perceive. How is it possible when you have a mind? When you have a mind which can control your senses to get attached with the sense objects. If your mind is there, in the background, pulling its reins of the senses, then there may be lot of sense objects around, but the senses are not going to get connected with the sense objects. Your eyes will be open, but you will not see anything. You will see things, but you will not get attached to anything. Your ears will be open, you will hear sounds, but you will not get attached to anything. How is it possible? How can I know that my eyes is seeing and it's not getting attached to what is seeing? Whenever you see things, if you see that whatever you see does not create any ripples in your mind, whenever you see things, if you see that that it has got no effect within your mind is completely quiet, calm, undisturbed. When your mind is completely undisturbed, then you can know that I have this, I have restrained my eyes to get attached with the form. Ears, it's all open. It's open to the world. Now, every moment the sound is coming, but if the sounds, though they are coming inside the ears, they do not create any kind of impact. They do not create any kind of impact within your mind. The stillness of the mind is still there. There's no impact at all. Then you have to understand that you could restrain your ears to get connected, to get attached with the sense objects. So in this way, all these five senses, if these five senses are controlled by the mind, then though the senses will be open to this world, they are not going to create any ripples. They are not going to create any trouble for you. They are not going to attach with them. Okay, now how can I have my mind control my senses? If I do not have a controlled mind, then this mind cannot control the senses. So to control the senses, it is very necessary for me to have a complete control over my mind. How to have this complete control over my mind? It is done by my intellect, because the intellect is the one which determines which way to go, what to do and what not to. So if my intellect is completely firm, if it is firm, if it is restrained, if it is very pure, then it can control the mind. And if the mind is controlled, then the senses are also under my control. Now how can my intellect be pure? How can my intellect be firm? The intellect can be firm only when the intellect is directed to the wisdom, not into the mind, not into the object, not into the world. So it is very essential that you always have the focus in the self, in the wisdom, in the self, in the wisdom, in the knowledge. Both of the all these are the same thing: self, wisdom, knowledge, I, existence, truth. These are all the same. Brahman, Atman is all the same. God. Some people also say God. So they are all the same. So if my intellect is directed towards the wisdom, then I will see that the ego is not there. In place of ego, this ego is replaced by knowledge, consciousness, my real I. If I can have full control over my intellect by directing it towards the truth, towards the self. If I always can perceive in my intellect that I am the self, and if this perception is very strong, it does not get perturbed in any situation. In any situation, my intellect does not get deviated, it does not get distracted. It's always there. I'm always into this, that I am the self. My intellect is very firm in this. If this can happen, then I will see that this ego thing is not there. This ego has been replaced by knowledge, and this knowledge is going to flood me flood my intellect, flood my mind, flood my senses. And that is called, that is called enlightenment, that is called fulfillment, that is called completeness, that is peace, that is bliss. So if you cannot, if you cannot restrain your mind, if you cannot restrain your senses from getting, if you cannot restrain your senses from getting attached to the sense objects, it means that you do not have any control over your mind. If you do not have any control of your mind, over your mind, you need to understand that this mind is not, is not regulated. This mind is not regulated by a very, very pure quality of intellect. It's an impure intellect. It's an impure intellect. And if there is impure intellect, then knowledge is replaced with ego. And if that happens, I am always under the, I am always under the seas of ignorance. I'm always under the seas of darkness. And if I am under the seas of darkness, then my destiny also is dark. And that is why in this world, nobody is happy. Please don't mind. This is the truth. This is the truth. Though you might think that you are happy now, you're not happy now. But if you continue with this world, you are bound to find that this is not the reality at all. You are so much, misguided. You are so much misguided. The reality is this, that, this world cannot make you happy. This world cannot give you peace. This world cannot make you fulfilled. The only way by which you can get happiness is from within. Because you are happiness by nature. You are bliss by nature. Anandam Brahma. Satchidananda. Satchidananda. You are Satchidananda. You are, truth. You are knowledge, and you are bliss. You are truth. You always exist. You are eternal. You existed even before your birth, and you are going to exist after the death, because this birth and death happens to the body. It doesn't happen to the soul. You are not the body. You are the soul. So when you have this, when you have this realization that I am the soul, when you have this realization that I am consciousness, then you see that this birth and death cannot limit you. You are not limited within this foundation of birth and death. You are infinite. You are everywhere. You are omnipresent. You are omnipotent, and you are omniscient. Okay, so you are Sat. You are truth. Then you are knowledge. Your knowledge means you are light. There's no darkness. There is no sufferings. There is no sorrow. There's no bondage. There's no bondage. Everything goes. Everything which gives you this, this feelings of, feelings of sufferings. Everything that gives you the feelings of being binded. These are not there. You are free. You're free. You're free. So, you are knowledge. You are that knowledge when manifested can break chains. And that is why, when Krishna was born, before he was born, his parents were chained in the prison. His parents had to face a lot of trouble because of the birth of Krishna. And they were kept under chain, under very, very strong, very strict surveillance. There were always people guiding them. And the time when Krishna, was born, everybody who were keeping an eye on his parents, they slept, they fall asleep. And his parents, their chains were all unlocked. They became free. How did they become free? Because of the birth of Krishna. Krishna is consciousness. Krishna is consciousness. Krishna is knowledge. Krishna is liberation. Krishna is God. He's God incarnate. God incarnate means, the self, the consciousness, which has taken a shape. It has taken a shape, and he has incarnated in the form of a body. In the form of a body, it does not take a body. It incarnates in the form of body. And when the purpose of his life is complete, he just goes to his own nature. This is the same, when you will have this knowledge, which will flow from direct from your heart, you will see all your bondages has gone. All your bondages is gone. You're free. You're free. You're free. Okay. So that is what it says. That where we were. This that tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasha indriyani indriyathebhya tasya pragya pradishtita. That is why, O mighty one, the might is not in fighting the enemy outside. The real might is fighting the enemy within. And by fighting your enemy within means restraining your mind, restraining your senses, by restraining your mind, by restraining your intellect, and getting connected with the infinite, with the infinite knowledge. This is the real might. This is the real courage. This is the real struggle. This is a real fight. This is a real battle. Okay? So, tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasha indriyani indriyathebhastasya pragya pradishtita. A person who can restrain his senses from all the sense objects, that person's wisdom is steadfast. Means that person is established into firm wisdom. Okay? Indriyani indriyathebha tasya pragya pradishtita. Very, very important. Very important. After this we should not talk, because this is something which we need to practice. Okay? But still I'm telling this next one. But this is what you need to practice. This sequence, from senses to mind to intellect and getting connected with the self. If you can follow this sequence, then you will see that you don't need to practice any other form of austerity. This itself is the greatest austerity. And by doing this, you will see that you have attained the self very, very easily. Just restrain your senses from not getting attached to the sense objects. See but don't see. Hear but don't hear. Taste but don't taste. Smell but don't smell. Touch but don't touch. This is the thing, See but don't see. See, let the eyes be open, but don't get attached to the eyes. Don't remain attached to the eyes. Keep the mind away from the eyes. Keep the mind away from the eyes. Now, how can you keep the mind away from the eyes? Only it is possible when you have a very firm control over your mind. You will say your mind, hey, don't get attached to the senses, and the mind will never get attached to the senses. This is how it works. This is how it works. You can chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This does not work. You need to command. You need to command over your mind. Hey, don't do that. And it will not do that. And it will not do that. That is why you need strength. Nayanatma valahinena labhya. Na medhaya na bahuna sutena. Though you can have a very firm intellect, though you can, listen to from a very able master, then also if you don't have strength in controlling your mind, in controlling your intellect, in controlling your tendencies, in controlling your senses, you cannot become enlightened soul. You need strength. So you need to recognize which is the real, which is the real enemy. It's not outside, it's within me. Okay? So, indriyani indriyathebha tasya pragya pradishtita. And now he says, people, what do the people of the world do? The people of the world, they fight the battle outside. Because everything is outside. They fight the battle outside. But the real people, real human being, a human being who is, who has got a very firm intellect, who has got a very pure intellect, they fight the battle within. And that is why, now Krishna is showing the difference between an enlightened and an unenlightened soul. What is the difference? What is the difference between these two people? Two group of people. One group of people who have attained the self, who have known the truth, and the other group of people who, who have not known the truth. They do not care about knowing the truth. Their only obsession is the world. What is the difference between these two? Now he says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanjami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani, yasyam jagrati bhutani, sa nisha pashyato mune. Very beautiful, a very important slogan, Many people quote this. Many people quote this. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanjami. Jasyam jagrati bhutani, sa nisha pashyato mune. This is verse number 69. Okay, chapter 2, verse number 69. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanjami. Jasyam jagrati bhutani, sa nisha pashyato mune. What does it mean? It says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam. That what is night for the world. That which is night for the world means that which is night for the worldly person. Worldly person means people who think that whatever they see in this world is all true. Whatever is present in this world is all true. So what is night for a person? For a worldly person is a day. Is a day for a restrained person, is for a wise person. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanjami. That which is night for everybody of this world, for these worldly people, at that time, the real wise man, he remains awake. So you can understand everything, all the tendencies that the worldly people have. The enlightened soul is just the opposite to that. All the aspirations, all the obsessions, all the liabilities that the worldly people think that they have, the enlightened soul is just the opposite. No, these are not the real liability. No. This is not right. This is not right. The right is this. Right is this one inside. And that is why, the one which is not valued by the world, the one, night means when we sleep, means, in another way you can say that people who do not value anything, people who do not value spirituality, nobody values spirituality. Everybody is running after, procuring things. Everybody wants things. Hey, give me this. Everybody, even in this temple and where in Ganga, I see this. Everybody is doing this to just this is a worldly person. They need more. And now see what happened. So ya nisha sarva bhutanam. For that which is night for everybody. In that way you say that that which does not have any meaning for the worldly person, that is the prime, that is the prime aspiration for a wise man. Worldly people does not want spirituality. Worldly people does not ponder about who I am, where from did I come, where I'm going to go, what is my existence, what is there, beyond this. They don't have any interest in this. They have interest only in what they see and what they feel. That's all. That is their only, that is their only aspiration. But an enlightened soul, he does not have any interest in this. What they aspire for, what interests them, what excites them, he does not have any interest. So, ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanjami. That which is a night for all the worldly people, that is of prime importance. That is the place where the self-realized soul, the wise men, they remain awake. Yasyam ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati bhutani. Yasyam yasyam sarva bhuta yasyam jagrati bhutani. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune. And that where all this world is awake, and that in which all the world is awake, conscious, the self-realized soul, they consider that to be night, to be dark. Okay, so this is the difference between a realized soul and an unrealized soul, an enlightened soul and an unenlightened soul. The Swami Vivekananda said that what is the difference between an enlightened soul and a common man? It is like the sun and an insect producing light. It is those insects which produce light, they are the worldly people, and the wise men, are like the sun. There was one great spiritual person in India called Aurobindo. Rishi Aurobindo. He is from Pondicherry. His ashram is in Pondicherry, Divine Life Society or something like that. So he said, self-realized person is the cream of the society. They're the essence of the society. Okay, so these are the essence of the society. Their aspirations, their aspirations will never match with the aspirations of this world. So if you really want to become a wise man, follow the aspirations of the wise. Do as the wise do. Think as the wise think. Okay, and follow as the wise follow. So today we are going to stop here, and tomorrow, on Tuesday at 8:30, we are again going to meet. Thank you very much, and thank you for the letters. I don't have time for those letters. I will write to them. I will write. I will answer them when I have time, or the best I can do is I can speak them. I can just answer them when I'm doing this class. So this is what I'm going to do in the next class. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste.